Now, the Lightning Trap Assassin has been great for many years, dating all the way back to LOD, but there's actually a new trapper in town that's absolutely spectacular, and that's actually the Fire Trap Assassin. Now, what exactly do you got to do to get this thing absolutely godly? We'll start off with the stats page first, super quick. Just like a lot of builds in Diablo 2 Resurrected, just enough strength to wear your gear. I got up to 161, but really, I just need to get over 156 to where, if you see it right there, I do have a Monarch on. Just enough dex to wear your gear here, so I didn't add anything to that. Vitality, I dumped all of my remaining points into Vitality, help out the survivability, of course, and I didn't add any to Energy. This is kind of where my resistances fell. If you want to go ahead and take a look, you could always bump those up with gear swap choices, or using maybe certain skills. Once we get out there, maybe it'd bump up our res. Speaking of those skills, let's take a look at the skill tree. Martial arts, super easy, skip it, don't use it, you don't do anything on that skill tree. Hopping over to Shadow Disciplines. Now, I went ahead and put one into Claw Mastery to get down to Burst of Speed. I use this essentially all the time, but those resistances were pretty low, so if there is any instance, maybe you're running a terrorized zone where you actually need those resistances to go ahead and survive, putting 1 point down into Fade, yes, you're going to lay your traps much slower, because traps are thrown down on the increased attack speed frames, not the FCR, not the faster cast rate. So you want to get that increased attack speed up, which you get from bursts of speed, but sometimes you just got to survive, you know? So I do have 1 point into Fade to go ahead and help out with the survivability. And then once we hop over to the traps skill tree, of course, this is where a lot of our stuff's going. This is our main damage dealers. Now, I maxed out all of Fire Blast, Wake of Fire, Wake of Inferno, Lightning Sentry, and Death Sentry. Now, Lightning Sentry is the last one you're going to max out on this skill tree. What this does, the extra skills, it is a synergy. And if you see down here, it adds damage. I actually throw these Death Sentries down. It's 1 to 3,200 damage, but that's a little bit of like extra damage, so we're kind of dual spec. It's not our main damage dealing point, but hey, if you need some of that lightning damage, you do technically have those Death Sentries there. Also, you notice Fire Blast is a synergy for this as well. You get 1 shot per 3 levels. So Fire Blast is maxed out at 20, so we get as many shots. So the Death Sentry stays up as long as it can, blowing up bodies, getting that corpse explosion. Now, like I said, we do have Wake of Inferno and Wake of Fire. Wake of Fire, in my opinion, way better. Everyone pretty much agrees with that one, I suppose, but it does only shoot 5 times. So if you don't kill everything incredibly fast, maybe on P8 in the terror zones, you might have to drop them down again and drop them down again. And we'll talk about it a little bit more with the strategy of the traps once we get into that example gameplay, because it's kind of important on this build. It's not necessarily just go out, hold down a button and blast. You might want to think and have a little bit of strategy, help your clear speed out a little bit when we get there. Now, looking at the gear, I did go a little bit boring because I wanted it to be actually a gear that people could get. Now, there is super expensive gear, like some crazy trap claws, 6 to traps with a couple open sockets on a blue claw, or maybe a 5 to, you know, traps in one way or another of a rare claw that you can go ahead and get sockets into. These, for the most part, are not necessarily realistic for people to trade for or to find. So a lot of people just go with the classic caster stuff, and it works out absolutely great. Now, here on the Wake of Fire Assassin, so I got Heart of the Oak right here, 3 skills, you know, all the good stuff. The FCR here is actually good for the mobility, for teleporting around, even though the traps aren't thrown down on that FCR breakpoint. Over on the shield, you'd think it was a Spirit Monarch, and you could go with that. Some people actually do, or they go with some other option over here, but I actually go with the Phoenix Shield for the minus fire res. Now, the reason people may not want this, the Redemption Aura will suck up the bodies, bringing you back your life and your health, which I like, but people sometimes don't want that because then the Death Sentry has less bodies to blow up. I don't find this as a problem, and I'll show it and talk about it in the example gameplay, but I don't think I've ever had a problem with this one personally. Up here, I go with the Shaco. I do this because I gotta have some sort of magic find. This isn't the highest MF character, but I go with this up here. Flickering Flame, another great option up here. Of course, more minus enemy fire res, so that would boost up the damage as well. Perhaps if I was out farming more terror zones, trying to get experience faster, kill monsters faster, hoping to get rune word bases and high runes and stuff like that, Flickering Flame would be a better option. But in my case, I want to find more rare uniques and stuff like that. So I got the Isted Shaco up here. Ist is kind of just for show, by the way. Here we got the Enigma, kind of the go-to, I think, even if you're not teleporting. It's got 45% faster run walk, 100 magic find, 71 to strength. Enigma is just too good to go ahead and not use. Of course, it has a teleport to go ahead and get around. Over here, we got Mage Fist. It has 1 to fire skills on it. Also, you get that FCR to get you up to a breakpoint, so you can teleport around at the speed in which you would like to. Great option right there. It's cheap enough. This is pretty much the one you're going to want to use on any fire trap assassin. Here I got a Ravenfrost and an SOJ. SOJ is pretty self-explanatory, the skills demand and whatnot. Now the Ravenfrost, this essentially, because the traps are thrown down on increased attack speed, you want to have cannot be frozen, or else you're just stuck in the mud frozen for a super long time. Now it does have cold absorb and it's got the dex on it as well, so that can keep you from having to put any points in there to wear any certain pieces of gear perhaps. So just get cannot be frozen somewhere. So you could get it on the belt with a Trang's belt, but I want to get the skill and the FCR once again. Go ahead and, like I mentioned 7 times already, you get up to that teleporting breakpoint. That's about the only instance you need the FCR for. But in my opinion, it is absolutely crucial. And the last piece to get me over, I believe it is the 86 FCR breakpoint. I will definitely double check that one. But we got 2 FCR, a good caster amulet right here. Now, if you wanted to, you could always go with something with increased attack speed on it. High Lords, I believe, a skill and increased attack speed, or Amara's. Lots of different options up here, of course, as well. And then over on the boots, billion different options for boots as well. I got these rare boots right here. Could definitely be better, but these are the ones I decided to use. Fire and lightning to make up kind of the most important resistances there. A little bit of magic fine. Now down in the inventory, of course, if you get a Torch, Annie, and a Geeds, absolutely do it. Duh, obvious. And then I got traps skillers all the way across. Apparently I accidentally had 1 martial arts. Disregard that, we want all traps across. And I got 7 MFers across on the bottom right here. It's my standard setup for inventories right there. Pretty much what you want to do if you can go ahead and get it. Over on the other hand, Call to Arms and Spirit, of course. Now for the Mercenary, now if you have any trouble surviving, maybe you're a more budget character, you may want to go with the Holy Freeze aura down here. But I decided to go with the Might aura. That way, hopefully, the Mercenary will help out get the first corpse down faster. And then go ahead, the Death Sentry starts corpse exploding and taking the mobs out even faster. On top of that, I know I said with the Phoenix, I never have a problem with it sucking up all the bodies and the corpse explosion not having anything to blow up. But I don't want to compound on top of that even by having the Holy Freeze aura, because then the bodies will shatter. Then the Death Sentry will have nothing to corpse explode. So I prefer to go with the Might Act 2 Mercenary. And of course I go with Act 2, so you can go ahead and hop over and use this weapon right here. Of course, the Infinity, that Conviction aura, lowering the fire res on the characters. And I was actually shocked hopping in different terror zones and different areas. There's actually way more fire immunes that can be broken even just with the Conviction aura than I even realized. Not all of them, but you know, lightning gets broken almost exclusively, all of them. Probably about half of the fire ones actually get broken by the Conviction aura Infinity, which was kind of shocking to me, I suppose. Now, because my poison res was super low, and just for a convenience factor, in my opinion, I actually throw the Cure Helm up here. On way more builds, I've been throwing the Cure Helm up on the Act 2 Mercenary just for quality of life. It's just easier, more fun. Yeah, okay, maybe it's like 0.02% slower or whatever kill speed because you don't have the Indaro Visage attacking a little bit faster. I don't care. It's just so convenient to get rid of any of the amp damages, to get rid of poison faster. This level 1 cleansing aura. Love that one out there. And because now I need the life leech because it's not coming from the helmet, 65 to all resistance. It's got some damage reduction right there. So I love this Merc setup here for the Fire Assassin. Alrighty, now where are we going to use this at? We're going to head out to the Frigid Highlands, and here we have it on Players 8 difficulty. First of all, get your burst to speed up. Head out here, throw down a bunch of the fire traps, and then go ahead and throw a bunch of fire bombs. We want to go ahead and get a body or 2 down. They'll throw down a few more because they ran out, and then start throwing some Death Sentries. Once everybody starts going away, just throw down a bunch of Death Sentries, and it just pops all the bodies right there. That pack, of course, super easy. Let's go ahead and after another, you know, kind of easy pack, we'll go ahead and go after these guys. Bunch of bodies down, throw down a bunch of Death Sentries, and everything's corpse exploding everywhere. Rip that pack out in no time once again. One of my favorite places to use any fire builds here in Diablo 2 Resurrected, you're looking at it, the Stony Tombs. Now, even though still on Players 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, let's go ahead and throw down a Death Sentry, start throwing some fire bombs, and yeah, that room's ripped out. Keep moving on to the next area. No density up here. But hey, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, Death Sentry. So you throw down 4 of the Wake of Fires, and then you throw down 1 Death Sentry. That's the general strategy right there. And a little tip from me to you on that one as well. I go ahead 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then once a few bodies start falling, I just spam the Death Sentries everywhere. And they just all corpse explode everything as fast as they can. And I don't want to be a broken record, but yeah, do remember this is Players 8 difficulty. An absolute spectacular farming area. You can find every single unique item in the entire game down here in the Stony Tombs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once again, go for it. Oh, Emilio's getting ripped over here. There must have been some amp damage or something that got him, but that's all right. We went ahead and kept him alive. And then while we're at it, we'll move on to the next last area right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Throw that down. Throw some fire bombs. And everything's, boom, out of there. And then just to go ahead and show it, here we are out in a P8 terror zone. 1, 2, 3, 4. Throw it on a trap. Throw some fire bombs. They're immune to fire, so you can't go ahead and get those, but you could. Here we go. Throw it on a bunch of these death sentries, and they're actually doing a little bit of damage. Look, he gets ripped out, and then they start blowing up the bodies too. So that's the good thing about having the dual spec once again. Mercenaries handling them and the lightning blasting. Here's another little group of champos right here. Throw some fire bombs, and those fire bombs, don't sleep on them. They actually do quite a bit of damage. So yeah, a player's 8 terror zone, handling it without any issue at all. Well, let's take out one more guy here, our buddy P8 Thresh Shocket. A little bit overkill since on P8 or P1 drops the same items. No Tearl's Might, unfortunately. Maybe next time.